Hey everyone, welcome back to A Better Computer. Today I want to give you my thoughts and reactions to Apple's Mac event that they had today. This was the event we knew was coming since June when they announced that they were moving to Apple Silicon for their Mac processors. They've been using their own kind of processors on iOS and iPad and tvOS for years, forever, basically, since the iPhone 4, I think, was the first one. And they are bringing it to the Mac. They're ditching Intel. They're moving their entire line over to their own processing. And there were lots of things they could have done today. They could have changed the form factors. They could have changed names. They could have done like crazy stuff, added touchscreens, detachable screens, all this. They didn't do any of that. So what they did today instead was they really gave a speed boost to all their machines. And so the MacBook Air, the MacBook Pro, the 13-inch, and the Mac Mini all got updates today with the new M1 chip from Apple. So this M1 chip is much faster than what these were previously running, and it looks like they are faster in terms of CPU, GPU, and machine learning. And so on the CPU side, it's just faster than Intel's chips, right? They gave out numbers like 2.8 times faster, 3 times faster, much faster than what these devices had before. They also have more GPU performance. And so this was actually a really interesting thing because they only updated Macs that had integrated graphics previously. So these are improvements over integrated graphics, but they're not going to give you the super high-end gaming performance that you would from a PC GPU, especially a desktop GPU. But outside of really high-end gaming, which isn't really a thing on the Mac, there are definitely Mac games, but they don't tend to go as high-end, as AAA as you'll see on the PC. It should be fine. It should be great. And for the sorts of non-gaming aspects that use GPUs, these are going to be great improvements. And so they didn't change anything else. The hardware is exactly the same. These devices look the same. They have the same names. In general, the cost is the same as well. So with the exception of the Mac Mini, these cost exactly the same as they did yesterday, at least the entry prices. And what I also found interesting was that there's the M1 chip that they announced, and that's in all 3 products. And there's no real options to upgrade the performance. It's the M1 in the Mac Mini, it's the M1 in the MacBook Air, and it's the M1 in the MacBook Pro. The only difference there is that the $999 MacBook Air has a 7-core GPU option versus an 8-core in all the other ones. So you can spend like $250 more and get the MacBook Air with 8 cores of GPU performance. It's probably an issue with yields. It's just they're able to use the chips that didn't get 8 good cores on the chip. They're able to use the 7 that are good, use that in the MacBook Air. That's $99. Probably not a huge deal. It's really hard, I think, based on how they talked about this, to really get an idea for how fast these are. They gave out a lot of numbers. They said it's 2 times faster than last year's one, or the one it's replacing that may even be from this year. It's 3 times faster. It's 10 times faster in machine learning performance. They gave out a lot of numbers, but we really don't know how these actually perform in day-to-day use. They had lots of developers on showing that they said everything felt snappier, everything felt better, and I totally believe them. But in terms of just like how fast these are, and especially one thing I'm really curious about is the MacBook Air and the MacBook Pro. There's a $250 price difference, even more actually, if you go to the $999 MacBook Air. I wonder what the performance difference is between that and the MacBook Pro, because they have the same number of ports, the same amount of RAM, the same storage, but the MacBook Pro costs $250 more. Now, the only difference I can see is that there's a fan in the MacBook Pro. Maybe they're using that to get more performance out of the M1. We'll know in a week when people start getting these in their hands and benchmarking them. But yeah, I think my thing going into this, as you probably know from watching this channel, is that I'm an iPad guy. I do all of my work from an iPad. This mic is hooked up to an iPad just off screen. I'm actually filming this on an iPhone, and I'm going to edit this most likely in LumaFusion on the iPad. My question going in was, is Apple going to give me, an iPad user, a reason to come back to the Mac? Like, a really cool thing that they were doing with Apple Silicon Macs and Big Sur is that they're making it so that iOS apps and iPad apps run totally natively on the Mac. And that's really cool. That's going to bring some of those apps like LumaFusion, like Ferrite. Those are going to come over and I'm going to be able to use them on the Mac. Is that going to tempt me to switch back to the Mac? 2 years ago, I sold my MacBook Pro and got an iPad Pro, and I've been very happy ever since. Was this going to be the event that tempted me to sell my iPad Pro to go back to a Mac? And I think for me, the answer is no. These computers are much faster, they're much better, and if you're a Mac person, you've been holding out for a Mac with more performance, then I think this is going to be great for you and you're going to love it. But for me, as an iPad person, it didn't really change the game much. We'll see if Mac OS adopts a little bit more of the iOS kind of way of working over the next year or two, and then these iOS apps and Mac apps kind of work more together, more seamlessly. Maybe that'll make me more tempted, but as it stands right now, I'm very happy with my iPad. I'm going to stick with it. But again, if you've been waiting for a Mac, if you have a 4-year-old Mac, 5-year-old Mac, especially, and you're looking for an upgrade, this sounds like a huge upgrade, even if you bought a Mac 6 months ago. These Macs sound like a huge upgrade. So I think that if you're in the Mac ecosystem, if you're looking for a new computer, and these are one of the lines that you're looking for, it sounds like you're going to be very, very happy with these. So that's my kind of initial reactions to this. Thank you so much for watching. I'll try to get a little more into these as more information comes out, but wanted to get some initial thoughts out there for you guys today. So thank you so much for watching. I'll see you here next time. Bye-bye.